Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Goodness Village podcast. My name's Hunter, and I get to sit down today with my friend and one of our neighbors at Goodness Village, Sly. How you doing today, Sly?
Doing pretty good.
Dude, it is awesome to sit down with you. Thankful that you're here and willing to, share a little bit about Goodness Village and, just let the people know what it's all about. So, Sly, you were one of the first neighbors that got to move into the village, right?
Yeah, I was one of the few. I think I was one of the later part of the first group of people we had. I think everybody else was already in. I was part of the last group that came in around September.
Right, and this is September 21, right? September.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been in the village for that's over 2 years. How's it been going? How you been liking Goodness Village?
Yeah, it's been great. It's a nice, quiet place, just to come home to. I've been able to, go to school, go to work, put some things back together in my life, and just, talking to the staff and talking with other residents and stuff. It's been great.
Very cool. Yeah. So you mentioned school. You mentioned work.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy. I feel like I always catch you either coming or going or doing something, right?
Yeah, I wish I had more chance to chill out. I do have a lot of chance to relax, but I do have a weird work schedule with the split shift, and then with school, getting in the middle of that. It's like, oh, right, okay, I'm gonna get a chance to relax. No, you gotta read this chapter and you gotta write that report and stuff like that. But for right now, I'm taking the fall. At least right now, I'm taking the fall semester off, and then I'm I don't know, figure out what classes I'm gonna take next year.
Very cool.
So I can at least keep the cycle going until I can, get a career path going, get another career path going.
Yeah. What are you studying in school? What's kind of the trajectory that you're going for?
Right now, I was trying to get to the medical field. I was hoping to get into nursing, but just from my research and talking to other prospective students and nurses, it said it's very difficult to get into, but there's other avenues to get into the healthcare field. So I'm thinking X-ray tech or respiratory therapist. Same field. A lot of working with people, and I do want to work with people and stuff. I like talking to people and stuff, and so I'm hoping I can go in those career paths.
Yeah, kind of a specialty in the overall medical field. It seems, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, everybody in the medical universe, very needed, very appreciated, which is cool. And it's cool seeing your passion for wanting to be with people and connect with people. You're doing that already in the village. Before recording, I found Sly in our community center, chopping it up with staff, with neighbors. I don't know what y'all were hanging out about, but you guys were having a good time.
Yeah, we're talking about like one thing is when you're talking with people, you can talk about everything and nothing at the same time, and you're gonna be happy you were there. So, so it was great. We were just having a good conversation, talking about various things. I don't want to say too much, but
Yeah, but
it was a good conversation. We're all good conversations.
Yeah,
and stuff.
we have the space to just hang out, right? It's an interesting thing because quote unquote hanging out is such a simple, minimal thing that doesn't really seem important. But for you, for all of our neighbors at the village, I mean, for anybody, just building that community really looks like hanging out, getting to know people.
Yeah, like I was surprised. Like I read I seen an article that says there's a rise in male loneliness and stuff like that, and people get single, and people just we need each other.
Yeah.
What's that thing saying? It says no man is an island. No one is an island. We all need each other to talk to, and we wonder why some people have some people don't have nobody to talk to. It's just like you don't have to solve their problems, but just have a conversation with them does wonders.
Yeah, people need people, which is really
feel connected.
Yeah, I was talking with Kim, actually, recording her episode of the podcast, talking exactly about that, the idea of just creating space and identifying the fact that people need people. And it seems like with folks that have experienced homelessness, it's a very isolating experience. So we try to take that piece out of it and just have people around.
It's isolating because there's like trust issues and stuff like that, and from other people that you deal with that are homeless that are having the same similar issues, but then you got your own trauma that you bring into the personality calculus, and then But I think it's organic. Sometimes you just get there and you just get in a room, you be with some random person, and then this random topic comes up, and then all of a sudden you're talking about whatever's on your mind, or whatever's whatever reminds you of something funny, or whatever, and then next thing you know you're having a 30-40 minute conversation. And it's not really something you can schedule or predict, but it's just but he's like, you just get some people together, and people, especially people that feel comfortable talking with me, I'll say nothing or I'll talk you to death. But you just get it, people that want to talk and just want to connect, and a little more extroverted. Even with a person that's not so extroverted, and it just kind of cycles from there. Next thing you know, there's a friendship, and
Well, maybe pivoting a little bit, you were talking about, friendship, community, people in our lives. Um, I want to ask you about your experience advocating for your brother, who is one of our newest neighbors here at Goodness Village. You were a big proponent of actually getting him to be one of our neighbors here. Can you share a little bit what that experience was like?
yeah. When I originally got us saw the Goodness Village, I was thinking about him. I wasn't even thinking about me. I was trying to figure stuff out for myself. But my brother, he was, I don't want to say too much, but he was having a real hard time with any kind of housing. And so I signed us both up. And then as time went on, he couldn't get in when I got in. And there's too many things were going on his end, and he couldn't get in. But I never just kept saying, hey, hey, can I get a place for my brother? Because he was really having a hard time. I mean, he was surviving, but I mean, that's it. That's survival mode. You
Yeah.
know, God, that's a lot of damage. You're in that survival mode, and you have a hard time getting out of it. But and it was stressful for me because I hear the pain in his voice talking to him at times. Just worried about him. And he has his dog Sadie, which everybody loves. Everybody loves Sadie. And I was just really happy and relieved that the place finally opened up, and he came in. And I was telling him he'd be the most grateful person here, and he is. He's one of the most grateful people here. He's always out working, doing something, um, and it was a relief. Just happy to seeing him change. Hear the change in his voice. It's not that survival. It's more of a kind of a little more optimistic. You hear the change in tone from being kind of defeated to being kind of like, hey, which has been great. And then I appreciate that so much, and I'm happy to hear that.
Your brother has been a huge part of the current culture here at Goodness Village. And of course, you are too.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, first of all, thank you for sharing. That's huge. Hearing his story from going from survival to not having to think about, okay, what's the next thing on my plate? What's tomorrow going to look like? But he's part of the community here at Goodness Village. And I mean, his life has seriously turned around for the better, it seems, from my experience working with him and getting to know him. But it's cool to hear your experience of that too, because I mean, he's your brother. You've known him his entire life.
Yeah, and I'm the older brother too, so I put on more. I take on more of the um, uh, older brother stress role because I gotta help him out. It's like, I gotta help
Yeah.
you, I gotta help you, and that worry. 'Cause I was really worried about him, especially that past 6 months that he was out there, and then I mean, he was surviving, just barely, just barely. But now it's like just see him, I can see him a couple times a week because sometimes we just miss each other. We went to the store earlier. His dog, comes in. He comes with the dog, and everybody's just happy to see her. And that dog has a huge smile.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And then everybody loves her, and just seeing him happy, and seeing him, uh, you know, uh, just become, I don't know, just happier.
That's
this
huge.
happier.
That's huge. We rarely see that transition. We either see folks that are unhoused as they're unhoused, or when they get out of homelessness and then they have a house. Everything's quote unquote fine. Um, but seeing his growth and his change just by moving into Goodness Village, just by having a house that's his and the security and the community around him, he's doing all the work himself. But the village has been able to lay that groundwork for him and for everybody else in the neighborhood of just let's take the immediate fight or flight or that survival mentality out of everyone's equation and let people figure out what their next steps are.
Yeah.
And that's cool to see that from your brother. That's cool to see that from you, and all 28 of our neighbors. Uh, but I think it's just really important to share those stories. We don't really get to hear about them. So, Sly, thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for sharing your story and your heart behind what Goodness Village is trying to do, what Goodness Village is doing, and you're part of that, man. We're just people trying to be good and loving towards other people, and you're a part of that.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do. I try to remember my old pastor, God rest him, before he passed. He said one thing: says wherever you go, just be a blessing, even if you're being wronged. You just be a blessing, and just that comes out in different ways. Sometimes just listen to somebody talk, telling a joke, helping somebody change a tire, whatever. Some kind of act of service. Here's a couple bucks to go something to drink. Just be wherever you're at. Just be a blessing. I try to do that. I have my good days and my bad days, but
Easier said than done, but
I try to live by that
Yeah.
that simple thing and just be a blessing.
be a blessing. I cannot think of a better way how to wrap up this podcast than with that phrase, be a blessing. I think that's, you try to boil down the entire vision and goal of Goodness Village. It's being a blessing to our unhoused neighbors. Now, formerly unhoused neighbors, right? Be a blessing. I love that. Sly, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for everyone that tuned in and is listening. Let's end this podcast how we end all of our podcasts and staff meetings. The big old alligator clap. Remember that? I know, it's silly. It's silly, but we do it. Arms straight out in front. I'll count 3, 2, 1, and we'll clap together. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Thanks for listening to the Goodness Village podcast. Production and recording done by our operations team here at the Village. Music was created by Club 88 member AJ Parr. If you want to know more about Club 88, this podcast, or Goodness Village, visit our website at gvlivermore.org. Don't forget, new episodes drop on Fridays. And thanks again for listening to The Good Pod.